So first, and we want to go quick because we want to get to all this Egypt discussion, me in particular. A lot of you know that venture capitalists have to raise money themselves, and where we typically raise money from are US limited partners. More and more we're starting to go overseas, and a recent place we've been starting to look at has been the Middle East. And so I've been talking to prospective limited partners over there, and I wondered how this Egyptian unrest and Tunisian unrest was going to affect things. And I actually think it's less than benign, it's worse than benign. I don't know if it's awful, but it's definitely a negative. One group who had representatives in an office in Chicago were telling me that they're really trying to hold on to cash more than they were, let's say, 2 months ago. Now, given how much money is over in the Middle East, you know, we're talking trillions. That's actually a pretty, how much? 8 trillion, according to Alex, Mr. Facts and Figures. That actually is going to affect things. I mean, it could be like the butterfly, you know, flapping its wings and causing hurricanes somewhere else. I wonder how it's going to affect the U.S. capital markets, and I bet it's going to. And these entities have so many entanglements in markets across the world that if they decide that they need to hold on to their cash, and of course, if you, as one guy put it to me when I said, why would something in Egypt really matter to your long-term investment philosophy? And he said, well, let me ask you this. If there was civil unrest in the United States, you know, major civil unrest, and you got up in the morning, would you go to your E-Trade account and say, what good long-term investments do you think about making? And I said, no, probably not. I'd wonder where my money is. Yeah, and you'd probably want to make sure it was in gold or cash. So that, I hope this unrest winds up to some conclusion fast. I think it's the uncertainty that's the difficult part. So we'll hear more, I'm sure, about this this event pretty soon in the next episode. So I'm going to go quick here. U.S. economy, jobs reports came out. I've said to you all many, many times that the more I've dug into numbers, part of this being encouraged by Alex, who loves to dig under and find out what the real facts are. Things like the unemployment rate, which used to really be something you could hold dear. More and more, when I think about this, it's just like GDP. These are fictional numbers. You know, they're influenced by a whole bunch of things. But when I'm an early stage VC. I see entrepreneurs come to me with a spreadsheet and say, year 5, this is what we're going to do. And today they have a PowerPoint. And you kind of go, whatever. But there's an element of that with these numbers that the U.S. government publishes. So let me some thoughts about that. You know, we were hearing, well, 800,000 jobs have been added in the last year, roughly, which is pretty good. People feel good about that. But then somewhere else in this report, they mentioned that 1.1 million new Americans have become naturalized citizens. And the reason that's an interesting stat is because there was a comment about, well, how do you really calculate the unemployment rate? You got to take how many people are unemployed over the U.S. population. What's the U.S. population? That number literally is getting revised every month. And the reason they mentioned the 1.1 million new naturalized citizens was because they forgot to put that in the denominator. So labor participation rates are actually a little bit lower than we thought. One other point that I thought was kind of funny, you know, I'm all a C-SPAN guy, I like to watch it. There was a group of economists talking about the unemployment rate to a bunch of senators this past week, and they asked, one of them said, well, we had a blip in our number from the last quarter. What was that? Well, we lost 500,000 workers. And you know, the congressman just said, what do you mean you lost? He goes, well, we're not sure, but we can't find where those people went. And you know, 500,000 is a lot of jobs. Consider that 36,000 jobs is the net adds we had in the past month. Actually, it was kind of funny because who here has watched Spinal Tap? Good, right? So if you're a little younger, you wouldn't have gotten it. But one of the guys was channeling David St. Hubbins. One of the guys mumbles, well, they might have just spontaneously combusted. Very funny. But let me go on. So we have a very interesting jobs report. Something else, there's kind of a yin and yang here. The unemployment rate for those with a college degree in 2007 was 2%. So basically almost nothing. The unemployment at its peak for people with a college degree was 4%, which is really, really good, right? 96% of those people can find jobs. This is really about the unemployment rate for the less educated. So it was about 6% in 2007. Economy was doing well, housing stocks were up, there was a lot of building, and even today it's at 15%. And so this really, we've been talking about this for 30 years. Education leads to better job mobility, leads to higher wages. You fix the education problem, you fix our unemployment problem. At least that's my view. Alex shared something on his website or on Facebook that I always enjoy looking at. Google, you might have seen this, announced they were going to hire 6,000 people, and they got 86,000 job applicants. And that was big news. Wow, look at all these people who are unemployed, 86,000. That was kind of the subtext. You know what I thought about it? It's really freaking easy to apply for a job now, right? That's all. You go and you click a button. Some of you probably remember back in the day when you'd write a cover letter, then you'd go and, well, before you printed your resume, you'd actually go, and I remember doing this, and pick out the paper stock, right? Oh, this feels like good paper stock. Then you'd be in your office, and you'd be printing the cover letter in your resume and running as fast as you could to the printer to make sure that your boss didn't grab those stuff. Nowadays, you just sit there, and it's like, that looks interesting, cut, paste, boom, right? So I don't know how important it is anymore that you have that many people going for jobs. Also interesting, manufacturers surveyed last month said number one problem, they can't find enough people. Now we all hear about the hollowing out of manufacturing. There were 50,000 new jobs created in manufacturing last quarter, and they could have had about another 25,000 if they found people who were qualified. So it's a very robust, dynamic jobs market right now. Let's see. Ken, I'm going to go to company stuff because, again, I want to get through this so we can hear all about Egypt. Some interesting stuff going on with Verizon. By the way, Ken mentioned Verizon. They're launching the iPhone February 10th. They expect 24 million subscribers, additional smartphone subscribers this year. Most of those they hope will be iPhone buyers. My guess is there's no way they're going to be able to get that many iPhones in the hands of people. There's just going to be a shortage. Apple is spending $5 billion this year on tooling for its manufacturing to get more product out. Locally, and I'll talk about Apple a little bit more in a second, just some stuff that jumped out at me over the past couple of weeks. Riot Games, anyone know Riot Games? They're a local Culver City gaming company. They're getting acquired by Tencent, which is the giant Chinese internet company. I found that really important and exciting because Asian countries have always been really reluctant M&A folks. And back in the late 80s, when Japan was a major buyer or a major economic power, they still, representative in mergers and acquisitions, were very, very small. I think China is going to take things very differently. The fact that they're buying Tencent, I thought had a lot of, Tencent's buying Riot Games is very, very good because you're adding another $40 billion market cap company into the mix of potential buyers. And for all of us in California and Silicon Valley down here, that's really good news. I also noted when I was reading the press release that Riot Games, along with a lot of gaming companies, especially here in LA, now have offices, development offices in Beijing. And that's also very good development for us. It means that we're going to be able to use a lot of those developers for developing games here. And of course, China has a 450 million user base of internet subscribers. So great market. I hope Tencent and a lot of others follow, buying more companies here in America. So I had a really kind of one of those, this is really impressive moments with looking at Apple this past month. they have come out and said they're going to be growing their revenues really, really big. By the way, they do almost at a run rate of $100 billion now, and they're a giant company. But here's a really wild fact. The amount of revenue they're going to grow this year, so the incremental revenue, it's bigger than the incremental revenue of the combined growth of Oracle, of Cisco, of Dell, of HP, of IBM,